Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Storm Collectibles Mortal Kombat SHEEVA, and I have definitely risked it all to bring this review to you. I don't know how many, let's do a quick question of the day right off the bat. Do you guys buy different figures based on relationships you're in or people you live with? I heard some people say, I was just joking of course when I started, I heard some people say recently that, oh, I would buy that but I live with other people and things like that. It's like, you didn't design the character. What are you doing with your figures that's making people think you're a weirdo? Like, this is a character from a video game. I'm not actually concerned about owning it, having a wife. Like, it's not a thing for me. Is that a thing for you guys? Let me know what you think. Anyway, you guys know Storm Collectibles are exclusively sold at Big Bad Toy Store online in America. Working with them to show you this. If you want to check it out, there is a link in the description below. That always helps out the channel. It's a great way to help out the channel and to buy from the only online store that I fully trust with my money for collectibles. I always have, long before I was reviewing, and still now. So there it is, link in the description below to check it out. But this is SHEEVA. I thought it looked like it might be a great figure when they first announced it, and having it in hand, it's pretty darn good. There are a few things here and there that are a problem. We'll talk about it, but this is potentially one of their best releases. Not just because it's a giant lady in a slingshot bikini sort of thing. It's actually pretty darn good. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. Okay, before I show you the figure, I do want to show you my package. It is a standard Storm package. It's kind of big and looks good. You get the figure front and center. A little bit of a photo there on the corner. It looks weird if you look at it like that. But yeah, good packaging, standard Storm, good figure pose there. Some options on the back, nothing special, but it is what it needs to be. Another question of the day, how much does the packaging quality matter to you guys? And let me know, of course, if you are an in-package collector or an open collector. For me, I open everything and I keep almost nothing in the package. So it doesn't matter that much, but it is nice when it's a nice package, I guess. But it doesn't really matter to me personally. Okay, let's set that aside. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. It's a very tall figure. I wasn't really expecting that to be that tall. Okay, so here she is up against Darwin. I'll do a height measurement after I do the comparisons because I'm going out of order. And then here she is up against a McFarlane Batman, quite large. And then here she is up against a Marvel Select Captain America, still humongous. Now, if you guys have seen some of my other videos, you know I can't find my Goro. I think I accidentally sold it. When I was selling off extras, I think I sold my Goro that I wanted to compare this to because I still can't find it. And if anybody happens to be selling the original Goro figure, let me know. I might be interested. So I don't have that to show you, but I do have height measurements, which are always going to be comparable across figures. So she's about 9, let's say 9.25 to the top of her head, 9.5-ish if you count the hair. And that's going to be roughly, we'll say 24 and 25 centimeters. So she is quite large. Okay, first thing, I noticed 3 things that stand out to me. First thing is I really like the sculpt. I think they nailed the musculature and not making her look overly beefy. Storm does that for almost everything. They're little bricks of figures. And, you know, it's a style, it's fine, whatever. I think we just accept that if we're collecting Storm figures. She is not that. She doesn't look brickish at all. She's a brick house. Isn't that a song? I think that's a song. I don't know. Anyway, the musculature is really, really good. She looks incredibly muscular and powerful without looking like a block of wood. So that's very, very nice. I love the paint job on it. It's a nice matte finish with relatively heavy. Like, there's a lot of shading. It's not super heavy, I guess, but a lot of shading throughout the skin really, really brings it to life. And then the third thing I noticed, which is not a good thing, is the way they did the swimsuit, if you want to call it that. The paint job is not good, and considering it's so front and center, that's not good at all. So we'll look at that real close. You can see right here along at the pelvis area, hopefully it's noticeable on camera, there's red paint swinging outside of the sculpt, so that doesn't look particularly good. And then up here, along the boobages, the inside edge is just really, really rough. And it's like, okay, like the rest of the figure looks gorgeous. The shading on the skin tone is awesome. The sculpt is great. It all comes to life wonderfully. And then the bright red thing in the middle, you guys screwed up. Like, I know it's the factory. It's not Storm doing it, even though I think they own their own factory. It's like, okay, you see that that's important. Make that, like, put a pin in that on their board. Say, hey, make sure the swimsuit is painted properly. That's a big bummer for me. It's not going to be super obvious when it's on display and you're not handling it, but still, that sucks. And then the face is done well also. Let's zoom in on that. Pretty good. I don't know that it has the exact right look to her facial structure, but it's definitely fine. It's not bothering me. I don't know that I paid that much attention to her face anyway. So I think it's okay. Like, that's a clean paint job. I love the skin tone and the shading on this. It's one of the best looking skin tone / shading combos I've ever seen on an action figure. It's pretty darn good. Even the back spots look nice. All right, to finish off the aesthetic portion of the review, I will say for somebody with as much muscle as she has, like, look at those legs. Power lifter right there. Very, very strong looking, very small ass cheeks. And that's not like a sexy thing. It's like you would have big butt muscles if you were this muscular. I cannot, if you were this muscular. Yes, gosh, I need to start sleeping more or something. Anyway, her butt's not that big, so I don't care personally because I'm never going to see the back of the figure, but it should be probably bigger based on her thighs. Anyway, really, really good looking figure minus the swimsuit part, so 9.5 if you're not counting the swimsuit, including the swimsuit. I'm still going to say 8. That skin tone is great. Okay, as for hands, you just get it for hands. Oh man. All right, you get a whole bunch of hands. Everything you would need to do basic posing with her, with all of her different hands. So that's pretty good. Alternate head, you get the neutral head that comes on her in the package. Then you get the angry one, which I think is actually pretty good. I like it. And then lastly, you get her little spiky ball, which looks pretty good, and a stand to hold it up. So that's fine. Nothing incredible, but definitely enough. I am okay with that. 8 out of 10 for accessories. Pretty solid. Nothing impressive, but definitely good enough. All right, now let's see how the articulation works on this thing, because it could be a problem with the different parts. But I have to say, I think they did a pretty good job just by looking at it. Let's see how the head works. So the head on Storm figures always is a ball peg on top, but it's just a cylindrical hole in the actual head. So that's essentially just going to be a swivel. But you do get the ball peg that goes all the way down into the torso. So let's see if that... Well, obviously you get this, but let's see if it can actually lean like it's meant to. Oh, it works really well. You can lean the neck nice on this figure. Oh, that's one of the best ones they've done. Okay, love that. Okay, so the neck works really well. Oh, I just realized mine has a paint problem in here. That sucks. Okay, well, hopefully you don't have a paint problem in yours. All right, for the shoulders. Ball peg lets the whole thing move around. That feels pretty good so far. Hinge gets it up to horizontal in line with that ball peg. So that's pretty good. You get it better than horizontal overall. Down here, same situation. The chest is very flexible. So if you need to do that to pose her, you can do that. It's going to cave in her chest, but you can squish in her boobages if you need to. And it will flex for the arms to move. So that works nicely. And again, horizontal, so that's good. All right, the arms from the shoulder down are going to be the same. So bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, that's good. And then ball hinges on the wrist. These bracers seem to come down a little bit too far. So you might be able to stretch those out and slide them up a little farther, but they might get in the way of the wrists a little bit. All right, let's see how this joint works. Ooh, really good side to side, though it gets real gappy, so be careful with that. Forward and back, not impressive. It's enough, but it's not great. All right, and then down here we have another ball peg. Okay, that's where we're going to get most of our leaning. Ooh, that works really well. And then going forward also works pretty well. This kind of wants to cave in, but you can keep it from doing it with a little bit of finagling. So yeah, it's going to pose well enough in the torso. This part right here between the boobages, that's going to cave in. It wants to cave in a lot, so you're going to have to be constantly fiddling with these things. I mean, more than you would be otherwise. Some people are going to get my jokes, some people aren't. That's okay. So yeah, the torso works all right, no problem there. Let's see how, because this is a relatively thick or big diaper. It's got a lot of material there, so let's see how the diaper functions. Is she going to have a dangly thing? Not too bad. There's a little dangle, but not too much. Full-on splits. You can flex the plastic. You're going to have to kind of finagle that to make it look better. It worked out okay on this side without me trying. So yeah, that works okay. I don't like it ever when there's this much material hanging down here, but it's not too bad. Hips are definitely loose though, out to the side. Not purely floppy, but just close, just next to being floppy. That's not ideal. Bringing the leg forward. Yeah, it goes pretty far without having to flex the crotch piece too much. I think that's okay. That's pretty loose also. That's even closer to floppy. Her hips are really, oh, that one doesn't even want to hold. Her hips are really, really loose, so be careful with that. Big problem. Thigh swivel is okay. All right, double jointed knee. Not as much range as it could be, but definitely okay. That's fine. Decent looking knee too, so that's all right. And then for the ankles, they go all the way back, and you can see how Storm could so easily do better ankle articulation going forward. Let's focus. So they go all the way back, and then it can't go any farther forward. All they need to do is extend that peg that's in there just a little bit. There's a peg that goes in this way into the foot. Just make it a little bit longer so you can bring the foot farther forward. You're already gappy. Pretty limited going forward. Toe hinge. Not the worst we've seen, but not great. It doesn't go all the way. Like the way they sculpted it, it's not great. It's fighting already right there. Gappy down here, not great. It's stiff enough that you might be able to use it, but it doesn't look great. Ankle rocker is stuck on that side, and on this side, it's okay. It's pretty steep. So yeah, her articulation's not a strong point. It's not horrible, but like it'll probably be satisfactory to get her in some poses, of course. The neck part's awesome. But her hips are loose and floppy. Luckily, her upper body doesn't weigh too much, but the hips being floppy and then the toes being janky, that's not good. That's a bummer. It's still probably going to be a 7. It's adequate. The looseness is not ideal, that's for sure. Maybe that's just mine. You guys know I have the absolute worst luck. But, yeah, it could be a lot better. It's not bad. It's not bumming me out too much other than the looseness. I don't really care about toe hinges. The loose joints suck, though. So articulation, not counting the loose joints, I'd say 7 or 8. Well, with the neck, I'd probably say 8, but with the loose joints, I'm only going to say 6.5. Those hips are really, really loose. That's a problem. You can probably get around it, but that is not ideal, so be aware of that. Okay, time for a final verdict on this figure. Despite the problems, it's a shoe-in for the collection. It's going to be one of the better looking figures on the shelf, as long as you don't get too close to that slingshot bikini that she's wearing. Paint job there sucks, and as long as she doesn't fall off the shelf because of the hips, that sucks. It's going to be a good addition to your Storm collection. So all of that considered, I'm going to be fair and only say 7.5. That skin tone and sculpt does a lot to bump that score up, but loose hips are no good, and the front and center bright red paint job being not good, that's also a problem. So consider all of that when you're making your buying decision. But if you do want to get one, check out the link in the description below. That's it for me, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.